Hey everyone, okay, are you ready? I'm Jerry James Stone, and today's recipe is this awesome spinach and quinoa walnut loaf and a very, very simple vegetarian gravy. What I love about this recipe is that it's really hearty and filling. I think, in the vegetarian entree genre, a lot of times that just means blocks of cheese. And I love cheese, don't get me wrong, but this is a really easy recipe that's full of flavor, not too hard to make. It's really great for leftovers too. If you have just random produce in your refrigerator, you can throw it in. I think you're gonna like it, so let's get to making it. So the first thing that we're gonna start with is some mirepoix, which is basically 2 parts onion, 1 part carrot, 1 part celery. This is a very typical vegetable base that's used in a lot of cooking. It's used for vegetable stocks. We're gonna use it to add a lot of flavor to our nut loaf. So I'm just gonna go ahead and toss that in with just a little bit of olive oil. I'm just gonna saute it until everything is nice and tender. While that's cooking, we're gonna start preparing our spinach and quinoa walnut loaf. What I love about this kind of recipe, or just nut loaves in general, is just how hearty they are. So we're gonna add in our spinach first, and we're just gonna chop this up like you would almost like it's a pesto. That sort of consistency. Stir my onions here. And I'm gonna add in the ingredients that are the most persnickety when it comes to being chopped in the food processor. I'm gonna add those first. So I'm gonna add in my garlic. I'm gonna add in some parsley. And I'm gonna add in some walnuts, because you can't have a walnut loaf without them. The thing that's really wonderful about this recipe is that not only is it big on flavor, but it's also big on protein, right? So it's just action-packed when it comes to protein, because we're gonna add quinoa to it also. Let's check on sauteing my onions here. So let's go ahead and mince this as fine as you can. So that's really important that you get them really, really finely chopped, because you're turning this into basically a meatloaf in a sense, right? So you don't want any sort of crunchy texture in there. You want it to be really finely chopped. The next part I'm gonna add in is my seasoning. The reason I'm doing this in the food processor is I wanna make sure that it's evenly distributed. So I'm adding in some Italian seasoning and some sea salt. Go ahead and mix that in. Now, a lot of times people will just tell you, if you have a food processor based recipe, just throw everything in and it all just works out. I don't personally believe that's true. I honestly think that by adjusting to the ingredients that need a little bit more tender loving care, they actually get a better recipe, or you get a better result. This is looking pretty good. They're starting to get nice and tender there. Okay, so the next part I'm gonna add to the food processor is my cottage cheese. Now, I wanna say, if you wanted to, you could easily make this recipe vegan, but there are a few things to consider. So this has cottage cheese, which is very simple to leave out, not hard at all. But it also has eggs, that's the binding. So that part's a little bit more difficult. So if you wanted to make this recipe vegan, obviously omit the cottage cheese. For the egg substitute, you could use a flax egg, or you could use chia as a binder. Go ahead and add my quinoa next. So the thing that's great about quinoa, especially if you're vegetarian, is that as a plant-based grain, it's actually a perfect protein. And not many plant-based things can say that. It actually has all 9 amino acids, so it's really, really super high in protein. The other thing that's great about it is that it doesn't take long to cook. So compared to, say, brown rice or any sort of other grain, quinoa is pretty fast. It cooks in about 15 minutes. So I'm gonna go ahead and mix in the cottage cheese and the quinoa. Okay, that's good. Just check on this really quick. These carrots are looking nice and tender. So here's the mirepoix, if you haven't seen it before. Like I said, it's 2 parts onion, 1 part celery, 1 part carrot. Now, because this is piping hot, because I just sauteed it, I don't wanna add in the eggs just yet. I'm gonna go ahead and mix this in and just test the temperature, because last thing I want is scrambled eggs. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Okay, so now we're gonna add in the eggs. Here's a little trick. So have you ever seen where chefs just use one hand to crack the egg? I'll tell you how that's done. and hopefully I won't screw it up while I'm trying to show you it. But basically, grab one with one hand, get a nice crack on it, and then what you're doing is you're taking this finger right here and you're kind of pressing into the crack, and then with your hand, squeezing it apart, just like that. So that's how you do it with one hand, if you ever wondered how. People think it's really impressive, but honestly, once you do it a couple times, it's super simple. I wanna make sure the egg gets everywhere, so I'm gonna scrape down the sides really quick. Oh yeah. Okay, so now we're gonna transfer this to our loaf pan and bake it in the oven at 350 degrees for about an hour until a toothpick comes out nice and clean. So I'm gonna go ahead and add the mixture to a loaf pan. I've lined it with some parchment paper here, and that's basically just so I can lift it out when it's done baking. It'll make it a lot easier to get out of the pan. Just go ahead and add that. Like I said, this is filled with spinach. Here in California, we grow 75% of the nation's spinach. We grow 99% of the nation's walnuts, so go California. Okay, so get this all poured in there. And now we're gonna bake it, like I said, 350 degrees for about an hour. Okay, so while that spinach and quinoa walnut loaf is cooking, or baking I should say, we're gonna make a really simple vegetarian gravy. The thing I like about adding gravy to it is it turns that whole dish into like something just really, really comforting, right? The first thing I'm doing is I'm just melting some butter, unsalted butter. I'm gonna melt that, and then I'm gonna add in a little bit of garlic, saute the garlic just a little bit, and then we're gonna add in some flour and create a roux. A roux is like used for thickening sauces. What it does is by coating the flour in like the butter fat, it prevents you from having lumps in whatever you're creating. By the way, hey, you know what? If this is your first time watching one of my recipes and there's something that you want to see, drop a comment below. And if you like to cook like I do, hey, subscribe. I release new recipes every single week. Okay, so now we're gonna add in the garlic, some minced garlic there. Turn up the heat. And I just wanna saute it just to the point where it gets aromatic. So as soon as you start smelling that garlic, you're good to go. Oh yeah, this is smelling so good. I have to know, if you're a garlic lover, tell me some of your favorite garlic recipes. Oh yeah, I'm starting to smell that garlic. The next part I'm gonna work in is my flour. I'm just gonna work this in slowly. I don't wanna overwhelm the butter. I just wanna create almost like a paste. And what I'm doing by that is I'm allowing the flour to be absorbed by the butter. And then that way, when I add in the vegetable broth, it won't turn into lumps. So just slowly work in the flour. And when you're creating a roux, it's always equal parts butter and equal parts flour. Some people might mix it up, but that's the combination that I find works best. Now, if you want to do a vegan gravy, because you made it the vegan nut loaf, obviously you would not use butter. You probably would just skip this step. You probably could just thicken whatever sort of vegetable broth that you have with a little bit of flour, or you could actually use like xanthan gum, cornstarch. But I find the fat really just makes the gravy extra nice. Okay, so as you can see here, it's just a really nice, even paste. So I get a little bit of a boil there. See, it's boiling around those edges there. So I'm just gonna let it boil for a second, and then I'm gonna start to work in the broth. This is just a standard vegetable broth. You can use whatever one you want. So add that in. And once again, I also try to do this slowly so I can not overwhelm the roux with the liquid. And it'll get kind of pastier, and it'll look more and more like paste as you do this, and you'll probably get nervous, but don't worry, it'll all work out. Just kind of keep it moving around. The key here is to not have the heat too high. Just keep working in the liquid. If you pour it all in at once, you're gonna have a higher chance of having too many lumps. Even though the roux prevents that, it can only do so much. It's not like superpowers. So like you wanna make sure you really do it slowly. And just kind of work that paste into the liquid over a low heat. Get all of the liquid in there. And just add in a little bit more. And just kind of keep slowly working that liquid in there. I mean, it's gonna take 45 minutes or so for that meatloaf to cook, so no rush. Take your time making the gravy. I think what I need is a whisk, so let me just grab one of those. This is one of my favorite whisks. It's not like traditionally whisk shaped, but it lays flat on the bottom, which I really like about that. It's just perfect for scraping those bits, and really getting everything worked in. Also, the thing that's really great about it is I find like, I mean, I have the other whisks too, I use them for various things, but this particular one doesn't splatter things up because it's not as big. It doesn't overwork the liquid. You know, you kind of just, as you can see, move along the pan, you get everything kind of worked in with very, very, very little splatter and motion. Doesn't take much at all. There we go. And just add in the rest of our liquid. There we go. We get a nice thick gravy there. And once you get all that worked in, you just want to bring it to a little bit of a simmer. It doesn't have to simmer long, but it's really going to cook that flour. That if you don't do that, you're going to get a very kind of doughy tasting gravy, and that's the last thing you want. And all those lumps that you're seeing there, that's the garlic, I promise you. Let's work that in. There we go. That's nice gravy. I'm going to turn the heat up a little bit. Just let it simmer. As soon as it simmers, turn that heat off. It doesn't take long, but you definitely don't want to get that floury dough type flavor. But as you can see, this is a really, really nice gravy. It's gonna be so tasty over that spinach and quinoa loaf. Okay, I'll let that come up to a simmer, and soon the nut loaf will be ready and it's dinner time. Okay, so our nut loaf is finished. How do you tell? Just prick it with a little toothpick. It should come out clean. That's how you know. This thing looks delicious and it smells so good too. Take it out there. We're gonna serve it up with some hot piping gravy. Oh yeah, this is gonna be really good. Now you wanna make sure before you cut right into it that it's had a chance to cool, or it's gonna completely fall apart. So that part's really important. I'm just gonna cut off a nice slice here. Serve that up. Now for the gravy. Okay, so our spinach and quinoa walnut loaf is ready. I got my veggie gravy. Now to just pour it all over. I'm so excited for this. It smells so good. Oh, and it looks better. Oh yeah. You can never have too much gravy, right? Am I right? Okay. Oh yeah. Ah, it's delicious. How great does that look? Oh, it looks so nice. So you guys, I think you're really gonna love this spinach and quinoa walnut loaf. It has this delicious vegetarian gravy on it. It's super tasty. It's just amazing. It's not too hard to make. And you know what, like I said, it's packed with protein and nutrients from the spinach and the quinoa. Super good for you, a great vegetarian entree. If you like to cook as much as I do, hey, subscribe. I release new videos every single week. And if there's something that you want to see, just drop a comment below. I would love to get your feedback. If you like this recipe, give me a thumbs up. I'll see you guys next time. Oh, yeah, it's so good. I'm just gonna sit here and eat this. Yeah, see ya.